Coming up on today's episode of PSN, we reflect on the Invictus Games, which recently wrapped in Vancouver. Nathan was our man on the ground, gathering interviews with organizers and athletes. Let's check him out. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smyth and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into PSN. As always, I'm Alex Smyth and joined by co-host and now field reporter, producer, audio technician, Nathan Clement. Nathan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today. I've been back on the bike, feeling fresh and really excited to just share everything going on with sport in my city.
So before we get into a number of interviews you were able to gather during the competition, I want to get your overall thoughts on the games and how the vibe was in Vancouver during the Invictus Games.
It was really exciting, just the crowd noises, especially at the wheelchair rugby venue and the sitting volleyball venue, where it was packed to the roof pretty well. And I think from an organizing committee, the Invictus team in Vancouver did an absolutely incredible job. That it was really neat for me because as a Paralympic athlete and having gone to 2 games, especially with swimming and cycling, I was super zero focused on my events and on my sport, so I wasn't really able to see much outside, like in what would be like the fan village and the fan experience of the games, just because of how my schedules have aligned in the last 2 Paralympics I've attended. But to really take that in and experience just the passion, the celebration for sport, but also just how energetic, how happy the volunteers are, the fans are, and just everyone around the venue was super special just to see that perspective. And for me, that was really, really cool.
Well, let's jump into your interviews. The first one you have is with Scott Moore, who is the CEO of the Invictus Games. Let's have a listen.
Thank you, Scott, for speaking with me today. How has this experience been having the Invictus Games in Vancouver?
Well, it's been spectacular. It's been emotional. It's been life-changing. It has been everything that I had hoped it would be, and 10 times more.
Was there anything going into the games you didn't really expect that's come true?
So many things. The amount of impact it's had on people and how freely they've expressed it. I've heard from people that have said, I've taken our armed services for granted before, and now I see them in a whole new light. That's been amazing. The impact on young kids, like there's a young man over there who is 6 years old. He's got a rare disease. He came to wheelchair basketball, and his mother said for the first time he pushed his own wheelchair to the car, and he looked at his mom and said, for the first time in my life I feel like a normal kid. So those are the sort of impacts that you never could expect, but they're so beautiful.
Well, I appreciate you speaking with me. I know for myself as a Paralympic athlete, just watching this and witnessing the heart, the emotion, just celebration of sports has been absolutely beautiful. So thank you for your time.
Nathan, great to talk to you.
Yeah, I really think with Scott Moore there, it was from the heart, and I've really felt that with especially how he spoke to me there, and even like off the microphone, just how much it means to the organizing committee, but everyone there in Vancouver that really got to celebrate sport. Because for myself, as someone who's grown up my whole life pretty well with my condition, it's a completely different world that I wouldn't really have experienced what it's like for a lot of these people who've been in military service, and this is really just the start of their adaptive sport journey or their life after an injury, especially in service for their country. So just having an opportunity where they're able to be celebrated and they're able to really just come together as a community was just phenomenal. And you could hear the crowd noise behind us as teams were celebrating their podium placing after the sitting volleyball, and just Scott and how he told everything, and even in the closing ceremonies, it's from the heart. And that was really the big thing with that organizing committee, was it was just the love and celebration of these people who've been through some challenging, demanding moments in their life, and really just celebrating everything they've accomplished, and just that togetherness that has come from the games.
Yeah, absolutely. You can clearly hear that passion. I also think, too, it's worth noting, like, this is the first time at an Invictus Games that you had several winter sports, including things like luge and bobsled and things like that. And that was a unique new wrinkle to this whole kind of massive games, because a lot of the other ones, it's like track and field events, swimming, cycling, rugby, basketball, things like that, okay, those have been there for a while, but to try these new sports and have them be a success and have a positive reaction from fans and athletes, that was huge as well. But you didn't just chat with, obviously, the organizers. You also had a chance to catch up with several athletes as well. So let's take a listen to your interview with the swimmer Kate Shields.
Firstly, Kate, thank you for speaking with me. How was that race?
That was awesome. Breaststroke was never my thing, but I felt stronger doing that than I think any other stroke. And I had one of my teammates right beside me, the only other one from Canada in the finals. And I just saw her through my right eye and tried to stay next to her and finish it with her.
It's a special thing when you're in an environment with teammates and you have that home crowd advantage. What has it been like to have the games here in Vancouver and in Canada?
Oh, I think it's been awesome. It's been beautiful. I'm proud of this city and what it has provided, and what just the environment is provided for the athletes coming from other countries, in order to represent Canada and what we have to offer, what we stand for, with the generosity and with the camaraderie, and the scenery. Honestly, I mean, I'm from the other coast of PEI, the other side of the country altogether. And I have two small children that were able to come out and see the mountains and see the other ocean and see, it's such a cool experience for everybody.
Is there any one highlight that stands out most from you so far at these games?
Oh, that's a tough one. Aside from the opening ceremonies, because that was just phenomenal. Jeepers. I mean, this day has been the highlight for me. I'm not the fastest swimmer in the world. I've overcome so many physical ailments, and some that I will never overcome, that I carry into the pool with me. That'll keep me from maybe reaching the milestones that once I was able to. But the atmosphere here, and the fact that it doesn't matter what country you're from, or if you know that this person here is a professional swimmer and the person next beside them has only been in the pool 4 or 5 times, they're still going to give each other high fives and hugs, and it's just really cool to see.
Well, thank you for representing Canada, and thank you for speaking with me today.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was speaking to Kate and just really taking in her experience, and even talking to her a little bit after I finished the recording. It's just really phenomenal, like her story, but also so many other athletes, because a lot of them are doing these sports for the first time, or have had very little to no training in the sport, especially with events like the skeleton, where a lot of these athletes are going down the runs that the Olympians used in Vancouver 2010 for the first time. And it just shows that care, that courage, that heart, and that determination. But also with her and so many other athletes, they talk about just that celebration of sport, and just how everyone's come together, no matter what the flag is, no matter where they're from. They're all just celebrating this togetherness and just really having an opportunity to come out and represent their country, but also represent for so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also fascinating too, because I feel like the Invictus Games are a different type of competition. This is about the celebration of people coming together. There's a shared experience through the athletes having been service members or veterans who have acquired injuries in the service of the country. And as you heard Kate say in that clip, is like, whether this is the 5th time in the pool, or like you've been training for months, you still celebrate the accomplishment, the achievement together. It gives that positive outlook. So that's really, really something that's so positive to take away from this experience. So it was great hearing from Kate. You had another interview with Joseph Inacho from Sitting Volleyball. Let's have a listen.
Joseph, thank you for speaking with me. How has this experience been at the Invictus Games so far?
Well, the atmosphere right here is electric. It's a beautiful atmosphere. It's healing. It's a beautiful atmosphere everyone wants to be in. Yeah, so I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here.
Is there any highlights of sport or just that sense of community throughout the game so far for you?
Well, the highlights for me is getting to meet people of the same experience like me from different countries. We get to share experience, we get to talk, we get to network, you know. It's a great time for me, and that's my highlight. That's the highlight of the games for me.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
With Joseph and really getting to speak with him, but also seeing Team Nigeria as a whole, I'm going to go back to the pool for a second. One of the highlights of the games, and for me, was a Nigerian swimmer winning bronze in the 50-meter breaststroke, and just seeing the passion, seeing the celebration of the coaches, but also him when he got to that wall and realized that he won a medal, where it's that celebration of community too, but there's also that little bit of competitive fire that comes out, especially when you're in the thick of competition. But even going from one day where you're in the pool and then you're going to sitting volleyball the day after, and for a lot of these athletes, they're starting quite early in the morning. 8 a.m. is when they have their first match. And when I was speaking with Joseph there, it was 10:30 p.m. So he'd played that whole day. And I don't know about you, but that would be absolutely demanding, especially to do it day after day after day. And Nigeria really won the hearts of so many people in that crowd just because of the passion, the enthusiasm, and just the characters and personalities that they brought to all the matches and all the sports that they did.
Yeah, and for me, I find it interesting too, because Nigeria is not exactly seen as a powerhouse swimming nation when it comes to like the Paralympics or things like that. So because, again, going back to this fact that this is a different type of para sport competition, you're seeing athletes from countries that may be underrepresented on things like the Paralympics or continental competitions have that opportunity to shine, to come and get a medal, as you say, and then just to celebrate, and everyone really kind of leaning into that, I think, is really special. I also find it quite interesting too, as he talked about the fact that it's a chance to network at competitions like this, get to know other athletes, other people, chat, kind of build relationships that way. And you did a bit of that as well, because it wasn't just athletes for the Invictus Games that were catching your attention. You also had an opportunity to catch up with a few fellow Paralympians at the competitions. The first one is well-known Zach Medal with wheelchair rugby. Let's have a listen.
Firstly, Zach, thank you for joining me and thank you for speaking with us. Now you're working as a play-by-play commentator for the Invictus Games. What was that experience like for you?
That was incredible. I haven't done very many things like this before. A couple smaller events at national championships, just done a little webcast, but never live on the PA in front of thousands of people in the stands. So I was able to do one of Canada's games today. That was pretty cool, and able to go and get some fun tidbits from the coaches to hopefully share with everyone over the broadcast. And then the rest of the time was spent doing some presenting, so interviewing the athletes, coaches, staff afterwards on court, asking them a couple little questions. And so it was interesting being on the other side of the camera, the other side of the microphone, the one asking the questions instead of answering them.
Any big highlights that stick out from the day?
The whole day's been a highlight. That's tough to pick one moment. Obviously, the super fans running around in the kangaroo costumes, the rooster costumes, the head-to-toe Union Jack suits. Those always are some of the most memorable ones. Just seeing everybody flocking around Harry, knowing that none of this would be here today if it wasn't for the work that he put in. It's kind of cool to see that in person. But yeah, just getting to be a part of something greater has been truly a privilege.
You mentioned the passion, and I even saw it out in there. It's absolutely incredible just to see the volume and crowd. For people who are interested in getting into wheelchair rugby, whether on the adaptive side or the parasport side, is there anything you would recommend for them just getting involved?
Oh, look around for your local clubs or reach out to me and I can put people in touch with it. I think the Wheelchair Rugby Canada website has a list of all the clubs in Canada and who to get in touch with. And whether you want to come out and try coaching, whether you want to hop in chair or crash around, a lot of clubs are just looking for bodies to practice with. If you want to volunteer, we're always looking for volunteers to help people at practice get into their rugby chairs, tape up their gloves, whatever it is. So I just urge people to come on out and get involved if you're interested.
Appreciate your time, Zach. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, with Zach there, it was just absolutely incredible just seeing him do the play-by-play and just being able to cover it, but also, too, for the athletes to have someone like Zach Medell and just the absolute storied career that he had to be there, to be present, and it meant the world to so many athletes, but also for him just to be able to see that. And I know I spoke with him off camera or off microphone, and we were just so blown away by that crowd noise, that volume in that place. And he even rivaled it to Paris with that kind of just electricity in the air. And it was just phenomenal to see, where you had people running around in a rooster suit and for France, or a kangaroo for Australia. And I got a question for you, Alex.
Okay.
If you were to attend a wheelchair rugby match, what would you wear? Would you wear a beaver suit or a moose suit to represent and cheer on Canada?
Well, I think I would go with a moose suit, because when I was younger, a nickname I did have for a while was Moose, so I feel it would be a bit more fitting than wearing a giant beaver costume. Plus, I think the tail kind of gets in the way, and if you want to sit down, I feel like a moose is better designed to be a fan in the stands. What about yourself, Nathan? Are you going moose or beaver?
I think I got to go opposite of you. I think I'll go beaver, and I'll just deal with the tail and experience it. But I think that could be something in the future, as you and I getting out to some events, maybe the next Canada Cup or something, where you're dressed as a moose, I'm dressed as a beaver, and we just have a good time.
There we go. I think that is definitely a plan worth following up on. It is on tape. There is a record of it. I know our producer Jeff will make sure that we follow through with our promise. It was great, and it's very funny that you chat with Zach and he talks about, now you get the experience behind the camera after being, in front of it, being in the action, being interviewed. I find it funny that it's, okay, you got one Paralympian talking about doing the play-by-play, being interviewed by another Paralympian who's asking him the questions. It's like, it's doubling up. It's such a unique kind of experience to have Paralympians interviewing Paralympians about other athletes at a para event.
Yeah, then we even had a Rob Snowick who was doing like the main commentary, main play-by-play. So it's just Paralympians everywhere, which was so cool and unique. And we also had Rick Hansen in the crowd too. So it was just Paralympians everywhere, which was so special just to have all of that.
And you had one more that you got a chance to interview, Felicia Vosjevic from Sitting Volleyball. Here's the audio and video.
Felicia, thank you for joining me. How has this experience been in taking in the sitting volleyball at the Invictus Games?
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's absolutely amazing. It's my first time attending an Invictus tournament, and the energy is so just wild. It's incredible.
You mentioned that energy. Now, you're an athlete that's represented Canada on home soil. So what is it like being in front of a loud, passionate crowd like this?
It's just incredible. It fuels you, when you're playing in front of the home crowd, it just absolutely fuels you. You've got so many people cheering for you. But here, even there are different teams, everybody's cheering for everyone, and they want everyone to succeed. So it's wild. It's really great.
Is there any highlights that stick out so far?
Just the amazing rallies between Ukraine and UK, which is the game that we just watched. There's some great rallies there, and it's just a lot of passion and a lot of grit. So, yeah.
Would there be anything you would recommend to someone who wants to get into sitting volleyball?
Just try it out. I've been playing this sport for the last 10 plus years, and I love it. I love sitting volleyball so much. So for anybody who's looking to try it out, I say go for it. We have not a lot of opportunities here, but we have some opportunities locally at Harry Jerome to try out sitting volleyball, or reach out to the Team Canada Women's Sitting Volleyball, or even the men's sitting volleyball, and we can definitely hook you up with any areas or locations that are training, or just give it a try. You know, it's a great sport.
Thank you for your time.
No problem. My pleasure.
Getting to speak with Felicia there was amazing, just because we were talking a lot and even seeing with the sitting volleyball, just like the rallies and just the skill and level of play, even though for a lot of these athletes, as Kate mentioned and as we mentioned previously, this is some of the first time they've played these sports, where in sitting volleyball they had great back and forth rallies, a lot of play development, a lot of gamesmanship, a lot of different movements, different motions that you'd see some of the top level sitting volleyball players, and even going back to the wheelchair rugby for a second. Just the movement of play, just the passing and precision that a lot of these athletes have been doing was just incredible. And for her really going back to even getting involved in the sport and getting into these opportunities, there's places all across Canada, in Vancouver, in Toronto, in Calgary, you name the city, there's opportunities to get out there and just experience and play these sports. And it's just been phenomenal to get her perspective and really get to hear and even talk to her off mic and just really be amazed, because we were in there for the bronze medal game, and that was just deafening loud, especially the Ukrainian support, how loud and how passionate those fans and friends and family got, was just so special to see and so special to have, especially at a time where there's so much going on in the world, especially for that country. And just for them to be able to celebrate sport together was a really, really beautiful event just to watch as a spectator and really take in.
Yeah, and you know, meanwhile, the Invictus Games may have kind of come to a close in Vancouver, it doesn't mean that's the only opportunity for parasport and for athletes like those who were competing to get a chance to kind of compete on a bigger stage, for those fans to celebrate parasport and para athletes. Your last interview, and this one's really fascinating, you had a chance to catch up with Andrea Carey, who is with the One Ability Games. Let's have a listen.
Andrea, thank you for joining me so far. How has your experience been so far at the Invictus Games?
You know what, it's been an incredible week. We've had so much great energy. So many amazing families have come by. The athlete stories are unreal. And we've had this opportunity to both launch the One Ability Games, but also to share parasport and disability sport with a whole range of folks.
You mentioned it there, the One Ability Games. What is the One Ability Games for people that may not know at the moment?
Yeah, so the One Ability Games is a new disability games that's launching in Vancouver, Richmond, in May 2026. And it's going to be an annual games featuring 2 streams of competition: a play stream for school-age kids and an achieve stream for competitive athletes. And it's modeled after the Défi Sportif Ultra Go Games in Montreal.
Is there any sports that we can know about so far for the One Ability Games, or is that all under hush at the moment?
Ooh, yeah. We're going to have about 5 sports for school-age kids and 3 sports for the competitive athletes. More details coming soon.
That's a little teaser for everyone there. Thank you for your time, Andrea.
My pleasure.
And getting to talk to Andrea and really hearing what's happening is something that's been creating such a buzz amongst Vancouver para-athletes, but also British Columbian para-athletes, where they have this opportunity coming to really give kids and youth the chance to get involved, especially in the play factor, where they can meet a lot of different Paralympians. And even for me as an athlete, and I know this is felt among so many Canadian Paralympians and just athletes as a whole in the adaptive and parasport world, is it would have meant the world to have an event like this when I was a kid. And to have this chance and have this opportunity now where you can really give youth that chance to meet the greater community, know that they're not alone as a kid with a disability or as a para-athlete, and really allow them to celebrate sport and really get that chance to see that high level of sport too, especially with things like the Achieve category and the Achieve disciplines, is something so phenomenal. And as an athlete that had to go from Vancouver all the way to Montreal for the Défi Sportif events, and knowing that the impact Défi has had on my career, and bringing that now westward and getting that opportunity to really celebrate and let athletes succeed, but also be themselves, have fun, and meet the greater community, is something so special and just really, really phenomenal. And its events and its legacies of former Paralympians, events like the Invictus Games, that just brings that greater audience and that greater adaptive community together. And it's just going to be an absolutely phenomenal event that I know so many athletes in this city are excited to get involved and excited to help share the story. And even Andrea and what she's done with the Canadian Paralympic Committee, what she's done with so many other sports organizations in the past, is the best leader we could ask for an event like this. And it's just so exciting that there's an opportunity and a chance to have a sporting event like this in Vancouver.
Yeah, and we're set to potentially, at the very least, we're going to be following along with the Défi Sportif all to go, potentially be on the ground there to take in and do a lot of coverage from the competition this year. It'd be very interesting to be able to compare the two when the One Ability games kind of kick off next year, as Andrea had mentioned. Before we fully wrap up on the Invictus Games, we're running out of time on the show, but Nathan, your thoughts on the closing ceremonies?
They were phenomenal. They were so beautiful and well done. But also, as like an athlete who's been through closing ceremonies in the past, it was nice just to have everything run so smoothly, but also take in a different experience there and get to see like Jelly Roll perform, but also War and Treaty, but also hear from Scott Morgan, Prince Harry, and just Rick Hansen, and hear that heart, hear that passion come out from so many people of how much they love it, and just celebrate the community and celebrate just the ability to persevere. As for Invictus, usually as something we haven't fully talked about, but as para-athletes and as people with disabilities, usually the first day of that disability it's not a great place. It starts in a very dark and difficult position, and for people to have a rallying point, have a part where they can build from, they can create that community and just celebrate what they've already achieved. And I feel like Invictus is doing such an incredible job of that. And it's going to be really exciting what happens in 2027 when the games go to Birmingham in the UK, and just continuing this legacy and continuing all the work that Prince Harry and his team has done. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Was there any big takeaways for you, Alex, from any of the interviews or anything that you saw from the Invictus Games?
Well, the terms passion, determination, celebration, those were reiterated multiple times. And that is truly, in my mind, what Invictus is all about. It's overcoming those challenges. It's people who have sacrificed, their body, their livelihood in service of their country, in service of a greater goal. They have obtained injuries and their lives have been impacted because of their service. This is a small way to celebrate them, a small way for fans, audiences, the communities to celebrate what they have achieved since those injuries, since their service, and to show that there is still a life worth living. There's still a pathway forward for individuals after obtaining a disability, after obtaining a lifelong injury. And I think that's really the key message to take away from something like the Invictus Games. It's always a great hub, always a great positive impact. I can't wait for the next one. But Nathan, unfortunately, we're out of time on today's show. That is it for the Invictus Games. That's it for PSN. For Nathan, I'm Alex. Thanks for watching and listening. Be sure to catch us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.